Next couple of hours. I want to go straight to Congressman Ted Lieu, Democrat out of California. Representative, you've been hearing the discussion so far. You may not have had the opportunity to read through the reporting out right now, but you have the nuts and bolts of it at this moment that we understand to be correct in the reporting coming from the Washington Post. Your thought, should Haspel pull back her nomination here? This, as she, according to reporting, wants to do.
Thank you for your question. Absolutely. Torture is wrong, and it hurts our national security. I previously served on active duty in the U.S. military as a prosecutor. A number of U.S. service members have been prosecuted for engaging in torture. In this case, we have a civilian, Gina Haspel, who ran a torture facility for a period of time in Thailand. It was a black site detention center, and she had a role in destroying videotapes of that torture. That should be disqualifying for any cabinet nominee.
One might argue, as you heard the discussion there with Carol here, Representative, that she, of course, may have been involved in these roles, but overall, contextually, this is something that she is not the person to confirm and to order to happen. This is her being part of a larger infrastructure. One might make the argument in defense of what she did.
Well, she was certainly complicit in the torture. It's not clear right now whether she promoted it or what she personally thought of it, but at the very least, she was complicit in a torture program that, in hindsight, we know was absolutely wrong. And I am very pleased that Senator Dianne Feinstein did such a great job in making sure that this torture issue came before the American public. And it really is disqualifying for any nominee to the cabinet to have been complicit in torture.
Quick reaction here, Representative, coming up. Or your reaction to Sarah Huckabee Sanders and what she said yesterday. I'll pull up the tweet again. This, as she was saying in defense of the nomination for Gina Haspel and what she tweeted yesterday. If you look at what the points are coming from the White House, and I'm not sure if we can pull that up from Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she is clearly behind Gina Haspel and saying for those Democrats who are in support of, if you will, gender equality, not her words, but I am paraphrasing here, this is one individual that they should support. What do you say to Sarah Huckabee Sanders?
Last time I checked, being complicit in torture was not an agenda item for either women's empowerment or our national security. This is a much bigger issue. It's really about the soul of America. What do we believe as a nation? And we've come down on the side of not torturing people.
Who would you suggest then, from your perspective, should take that place if she does, again, retract her, the nomination is removed, is pulled back?
I don't know, but I'm sure there are a number of other people who will be qualified for this position who did not run a torture facility or engage in the destruction of videotapes.
Okay, thank you, Representative, of course, for reacting to this breaking news that came in from the Washington Post. We originally said, hey, let's talk together today, not for that reason, but we know that you can turn on a dime with us, as the news often is, on a weekend, on a Saturday and Sunday. And I do want to switch to this, Representative. Will the president, and you've heard the discussion so far, it's been happening on the Sunday shows, it was debated on Friday and Thursday, and for that matter, for the better part of a year. Should the president sit down for an interview with Robert Mueller in the Russia investigation? If he says no, then what?
I've seen Rudy Giuliani come out and say that the president might take the Fifth Amendment. Certainly the president has that right, and the Fifth Amendment protects the defendant in a court of law. But in the court of public opinion, it doesn't do that at all. In fact, it's the opposite. If the president were to take the Fifth Amendment, the overwhelming majority of Americans will believe that he is guilty of something. And Donald Trump understands that. That's why he has repeatedly stated he wants to do the interview. I hope the interview happens.
What happens if the president says no? I decide I'm not going to follow the subpoena. And then it goes on to the Supreme Court. They also do vote in whatever the numbers might be, 6-0, as you know, 6 for the affirmative, or 7 or 8, whatever the case may be here. What if the president still does not comply with the interview? What happens next?
Well, the president would have to comply with the subpoena, but he could still take the Fifth Amendment during the interview. It would just look politically very bad, and the overwhelming number of Americans would assume he is guilty. But there's a much larger issue here, which is, why is he even doing this? Why doesn't he just do the interview? What is he hiding from the American people? If he truly believes he's innocent, Robert Mueller is the only person that can clear his name. So it is mystifying to me why he wouldn't do the interview.
Representative, it has been said in one of the headlines that we were reading this morning was that special Special Counsel Mueller perhaps might consider that during the time of the midterms, and we know we're just in the start of it, right, in the heat of it, you're there in Southern California where that's being debated, in San Diego for the California GOP convention there in the state. Should Mueller, if you will, quiet the investigation during the midterms so it does not appear to be political?
Special Counsel Mueller is an American patriot. I think he's also very savvy. I think he's very aware that he does not want to do anything that looks overtly political. He's going to do it based on the law and the facts. So I have confidence that they know what they're doing. They're going to keep moving along, gather the facts, apply the law, and then do indictments if there's enough evidence and not do them if there isn't.
Stuck between a rock place, perhaps, Representative, because if he does quiet it, then it is reacting to political pressures.
I think he is politically savvy to know that if we're going to embark down this road of having indictments against very high-level officials, he's also going to have to bring the American people along with him.
Okay, so you and I had the opportunity to speak there at the Democratic California convention, and I mentioned the current convention happening there in the state of California, now the 5th largest economy, at least by AP numbers, as you know so well. What does this mean, then, when we look at the Mueller investigation for Democrats as they look to take control of the House? Because this is what's being debated today. Will they, should they, bring up Russia? Will this be the driving issue for candidates not only in your state but across the country as the balance of power is being debated today? As you know, Tuesday, some major primaries that we're watching.
No. The message from the Democratic caucus has been focused on the economy. We've got a better deal for better wages, better jobs, and better skills. I'm glad you brought up California. Controlled by Democrats, we put out a better deal in California, and it's now the 5th largest economy in the world. So we have a very good economic plan to make sure that people are doing better. And even though the Republicans passed this GOP tax scam law, most Americans know it hasn't affected their paychecks.
Sir, thank you for your time. Congressman Ted Lieu, Democrat from California.